Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, Jerron Harrington, back there with another video. And today, we are now reaching the conclusion of a story that's been a year in the making. The anime Marvel crossover Heroes of the Multiverse. With this, we reach the conclusion of Phase 1, a year, almost 100 videos, 8 different stories. We have now reached the conclusion. As Loki has finally assembled together his team, he seeks to find what is the cause of the fall of the multiverse. His investigation leads him first to the events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but with a bit of a twist. Some villains that we've met along the way will make their returns, along with some surprisingly new dangers that are soon to come. But this is not the end of this series as you know it. While the multiverse is large, our heroes, for the most part, still have their own stories that need to be continued, their own journeys that they will have to endeavor upon when this story reaches its end. But even when it does, that does not mean that this is the end for them. No, you will see them again, along with many other new heroes that will be coming into this storyline soon enough. As our universe continues to grow and expand, above all else, I personally, again, would like to say thank you. That's something I've been saying all week long, but it bears repeating. Because, as a lot of you know, I was planning on quitting YouTube about a year ago. But I decided to give it one more chance. I decided to make a story. A simple story. And you guys liked it. You wanted more. And I made more. And I've built this universe. I've built this community. We've built it together. And I can only say that I am only as good at what I do as to the people who support me in what I do. So for everyone who's watched every series I've ever made, who's followed along from beginning to end, who've left your comments, shared your thoughts, your opinions, everything, even the criticisms that were much needed, I want to say thank you to all of you. As always, you make the channel grow, you make the core grow. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's video. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. For Loki, he had been through a lot, and all of it in the span of one day. It all started when he finally arrived back to the TVA headquarters, only to find it was subservient to He Who Remains, or King the Conqueror, if you will. He had to make sense of it all. He had to figure out what on earth was going on with the multiverse. But before he had a chance to do so, there was another matter that required his attention. It seemed as though everything was going out of whack. Conflicts were taking place across multiple timelines, too many for him to solve at once. But there was one that caught his attention. One involving a being known as Wanda Maximoff. From what he was able to see, she was definitely not someone to be taken lightly, and he knew firsthand that he was going to need help, all the help that he could get. Loki was a shrewd man, one who was always seeking to plan ahead, always looking to make his next move. As such, he scoured across the multiverse, to the obscure parts, if you will, to find warriors he believed who could aid him in his quest. He found 7 in particular. First, Peter Parker of Earth 000, or, as you would know, the ReZero universe. This was a version of Spider-Man who had been sent to the world of ReZero following the events of Infinity War, and as such had chosen to make his life there. The young man was no older than 19, and he was already married. He had married a beautiful blue-haired demon girl maid. Her name was Rem. The two of them were enjoying their life together, and Peter was even contemplating when they would start to have children. But before they could begin, though, Loki appeared, telling him about what was going to happen. And this version of Peter, being pretty familiar with the multiverse already, and wanting to make sure that his future family would be safe, agreed to go and follow him. From there, they began their recruitment, finding various heroes from different worlds one by one. They came to a world where Issei Hyodo, who you would know to be the Red Dragon Emperor from High School DxD, was not gifted the power of the boosted gear. That power was gifted to his childhood friend, Irina. But instead, Issei had gained the power of the Spirit of Vengeance, the Ghost Rider. They also found Tanjiro, who had somehow acquired a symbiote for himself, the symbiote known as Venom. They had also come to meet Naruto Uzumaki, who had somehow come into contact with another version of Doctor Strange and was trained in the mystic arts, as well as the arts of the shinobi. They met a young man named Izuku Midoriya, who became his universe's Iron Man. No affiliation to Tony Stark or anything like that. It was just so happened that he was an individual who managed to create a suit of armor for himself and just went by the name. They also found Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, who found himself in a universe that was aligned with that of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. His story beginning in the part 2 of JoJo, where he, along with Joseph Joestar, looked to defeat not only Hydra, but also the Pillarmen. As a result, Steve was not frozen in the ice, and went on to lead S.H.I.E.L.D. along with his future wife, Peggy Carter. Along the way, after a blood transfusion with Joseph, he managed to awaken the power of a stand, known as Blue Liberty. And then finally, Bel Crenel, from the world of Danmachi, where gods live amongst the humans in familias. In this world, the god Thor had entered into a battle with Gore the God Butcher, a being in slumber, but unknown to Bel at the time. And Bel had somehow reawakened the power of Thor into the world, inheriting it not only his hammer, but also his will. For Loki, this was probably the best team that he could have put together at a moment's notice. To say that everyone was being cordial would be a bit of an understatement. Loki called it the hero factor, if you will. All of these individuals were heroes in their own right, righteous and true to a fault. In a way, it wasn't impossible that they would get along. It would be more shocking if they didn't, since they were all on the same page and goal. However, there were a few extenuating circumstances. As all of them had gathered together, Loki and his team would begin their search, hoping to find their version of wherever the cause of these multiversal instances were taking place. However, Loki did have one issue, and that was that there were a few people here who knew him, or knew of him, or at least from what they had learned of him, they weren't sure if they could trust him. And it started with Spider-Man of all people. "Yes, Parker, is there something I can help you with?" No, it's just... I'm sorry, can we trust you? And you choose to ask me this now? Well, the boy has a point, Steve would say. If everything of what you said is true, how on earth are we ever supposed to trust you of all people? I mean, we never really know, Belle would offer up. I come from a world where Loki exists, and she's really nice, not nearly as conniving, although she does get into a fight with my goddess a lot. Yes, Belle, but your world is more mythological than ours. Your version of Loki and this version of Loki, they're not at all alike in any way, and it's not just because of their genders or their hair colors. Yeah, but still, Izuku would say. He's brought us all together for a reason. I mean, if this were really some trick or some elaborate trap, don't you think that this would just be a pointless long con? And besides, what would he need all of us for? Yes, and I agree. Besides, if he tried anything, it's not like he could beat all of us. Come on, Venom, we don't have to start a fight, Tandra would say. I mean, as long as he's willing to help, and he's doing it for the right reasons, I really don't see any reason why we can't trust him. Yeah, and even if I don't want to admit it, Miss Mephisto, well, she had a dream or prophecy about you. Said that you were going to be the one that leads a group of heroes to save all reality, Issei would chime in. So if that's supposed to be the case, then I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. But I think if it really came down to it, I could beat you easily enough. Well, now that we're all in agreement, can we now focus on the task at hand? You say it was something about the multiverse collapsing, isn't that right? Steve would say. Well, yes and no. You see, I've been having a bit of a problem with the timelines, to say the least. But among all of my problems, this one requires my attention at the moment. It has something to do with a being known as Dr. Stephen Strange. Dr. Strange? I know him, Peter would say. I know you do. You and the wizard. I have had some meetings with him myself, but there seems to be something going on with him. There are Dr. Stranges dying across the multiverse for some inexplicable reason. And at the center of all of it, there's this woman, Wanda Maximoff. Wait, her? I knew her from my battle in Germany. You fought her in Germany? Steve would say. Well, yeah, we did anyway. I take it you're not from a world similar to mine, are you? I can't say that I am. In my universe, the year is 1990, and as you said, we don't have anyone by the name of Spider-Man in our universe. Well, that's easy to explain. I haven't been born yet. But yet, you know who I am. I mean, we've met before? Well, yeah, we did actually, in Germany, when you and I got into a fight. We got into a fight. Yeah, it's best not to talk about it. It's okay. I've known enough to know that things in whatever other timeline there are didn't go the best of ways. But I take it we remain good friends. We are, sir. Thank you. Alright, enough of that, Loki would chime in. Our main focus and objective is to figure out what is the cause of this dilemma, and to try to put an end to it as soon as possible. That's our only mission? For now, yes. I've called you all here because I'm going up against forces that, if I fought alone, I might not be able to stand a chance. But together, we just, might be able to come out of this alive. And in the worst case scenario, Issei would ask. Well, the worst case scenario, we all die. Everyone would be a bit silent at this. Now knowing what was really at stake, they knew that they couldn't afford to mess up. Failure simply could not be an option. As the group continued their travel, they would eventually make their way to the Earth 616 universe. As they had arrived, they would find themselves in New York once more. The 8 all looking around as the people were running from some type of destruction that was being caused. Off in the distance, Naruto could see something that looked familiar. I know that. It's Eldrick's magic. It must be Master Strange and Wong. Come on guys, this way. Naruto would take off faster than all of them as he went racing to see what was happening. Only to see Doctor Strange and Wong were battling against a floating eyeball-like creature. The two of them were holding their own well enough alone, trying to protect some girl. Before she could be hit by a flying bus though, Naruto would come in as he used his magic to form a shield. The shield of Seraphim, blocking away the attack before countering with one of his own, as he went rushing forward with the Rasengan, smashing it directly into the eye of the monstrous being. As it was sent flying, the other Avengers would come in as well for the assist. Issei, driving in his car, would be moving fast enough to get to the creature before it could land. As he reached out of the window of the car, he would have his hand wrapped in a chain. Throwing it outward, the flaming chain would wrap itself around the creature, holding it in place, as the others went to finish it off. Bell flying into the air, as his Mjolnir transformed into the Odin sword. Going in for a slash, the creature would be cut and defeated rather quickly, while Steve moved to help others to safety. A few people being a bit surprised, and maybe even a handful recognizing him as Captain America, although a bit older. Tanjiro and everyone else would come along soon after, as Strange looked to the individuals that had saved him. That appeared to be the Spider-Man? Whoever he was, Strange didn't know much about him other than the fact that he was some type of hero, but he looked and felt different, like he could use magic. And then there was that boy with blonde hair and whiskers. How on earth was he able to use the magic that they could? Was he some sorcerer from another school that they didn't know about? And Loki? As everything stopped, Strange and Wong would hold up their hands in defense, telling Chavez to get behind them. Alright, what's going on? Loki, what is the meaning of this? And who are these individuals that you've brought with you? Now, there's no need for any of this. Stay right where you are. Wait, Strange, it's me, Peter. Peter? Do I know you? Wait, you don't know who I am? No, we've never met. But didn't we? If you're Spider-Man, then I remember you fought with us against Thanos, right? But I didn't know who you were under the mask. Wait, you don't know who I am under this mask? No, I don't. I see. And I take it there's another Spider-Man that doesn't dress like this. No, not quite. That looks like your older attire. The new guy, he wears something different. Wait, are you saying that's not you? No, that's your universe is strange. I'm from a... Now's not the time, Peter. Okay. Look, I've come here to help. You, that girl, and whatever this problem is, it's affecting the multiverse in a way that can't easily be resolved. Affecting the multiverse? What are you talking about? Do you know them? No, I don't, Chavez would say, now being a bit frightened herself. She had spent her time being chased up until now, so she had no idea that so many people could possibly be after her. Wong would interject. What exactly is your business here? My name, as you know, is Loki. However, I am not from this world. I come from a different reality. If you have a moment, is there a place where we can all talk in private? Wong would create a portal to the Sanctum Sanctorum, everyone walking inside cautiously. As they all gathered together in the front foyer, both Strange and Wong still staying on guard, with Chavez close behind them, Loki and his team would stand back, Loki taking the front as he had a lot to explain, basically telling them of how he had joined the TVA in the quickest of terms. He summarized the events of Loki Season 1 and how he had gotten here, and how he had put together this team and everything that had been going on, and that at the center of it all, the one that was seemingly responsible was the one known as Wanda Maximoff. The moment Doctor Strange heard this, it caused him to give pause, realizing that if there was anyone who knew anything about the multiverse, then it would be her. But that still led to more other questions and answers. How exactly did some of these people know who he was? And how did that boy named Naruto, how did he know how to use magic? Naruto would then have to explain that he had met a version of Doctor Strange, the same as his, and that he had been trained by him in the ways of the mystic arts. Upon hearing this, it left Strange a bit more perplexed, but the way Naruto explained his training methods, the way he talked about his version of Doctor Strange, he couldn't deny that that was definitely him that had trained him. And then there were the other heroes. Steve Rogers, who wasn't affected by the timeline, that wasn't old, but instead had the abilities of something called a stand. This boy named Tanjiro, and he was carrying around with him a box that had a little demon girl inside that was his sister? All of this sounded too good to be true, but honestly, in this universe, nothing would be far from impossible. But now that led to the main focus at hand. They now knew that Wanda was at the center of it all. There was something that was going afoot in the multiverse, and she was the one responsible. Strange decided that he would go and pay her a visit, to consult with her on the matter, but would tell everyone else to stay on guard just in case. As he did so, Strange would go and consult with Wanda, trying to get her perspective on the multiverse and what was going on to begin with. However, as they talked, it became perfectly clear what was going on. The two of them were making their way, walking through a meadow. Strange realized that the one responsible for the attacks, the one who had been causing all of this, was her. Strange asked how she was able to do this, and with no choice, Wanda revealed the truth. She had been using the Darkhold, and now embracing her ability as the Scarlet Witch, she was looking to set things right for herself. Wanda, what have you done? I don't expect you to understand me, Strange. I wish to simply take back what was mine, to find my children. Your children? But Wanda, you don't say that! I know that they are real. I've come close. I've seen them. And this will help me. The Darkhold? Wanda, it corrupts your mind every time you use it. Don't you realize that? But at this point, she was too far gone. She would attempt to attack Doctor Strange, however, she wouldn't get too far, as instantly, another portal would open once more. Loki, along with his team, would arrive as well. Ah yes, the witch. So you're the one that I've been hunting for. You. I know you. Ah, you do. I do. I've been given many secrets. You're the one who's been trying to hunt me down across the multiverse, am I right? You would indeed be correct. And this is your team, I presume? More than enough for the likes of you. We'll see. Wanda would unleash a powerful form of chaos magic. However, before they could hit, Steve would take the front of the team as he used his stand Blue Liberty, creating a doming shield to block her attack. Once it was undone, Naruto would take the lead going first. He attempted to blitz the Scarlet Witch before she could have a chance to counter. Catching her off guard, Naruto would appear behind her as he had attempted to hit her in the back of the neck and knock her out. However, Wanda's skills in magic were just enough to be able to catch his arm, throwing him into a tree as the others attempted to aid in any way that they could. Spider-Man would use his wind magic to fly himself into the air, as he used his webbing to try to bind her, shooting at her right hand, not allowing her to conjure a spell just long enough as Issei entered into his Ghost Rider form. In this state of mind, he was pretty resistant to some magic, at least enough to the degree that he was able to tackle her, although she would blow him off instantly. Seeing the desperateness of her situation, Wanda would disappear instantly, fleeing from sight. Everyone still standing on guard, unsure of what was going to happen next. They would reconvene with Loki, as they all would head back to one of the Sorcerer's Sanctums, that being the Kamar Taj. As they had arrived, Wong would say that it would be best if they tried to build a stronghold here. If she were the one that were responsible, and she was using the Darkhold, then in all likelihood, it was probably her who was seeking out Chavez and her powers. Chavez, a girl having the ability to create different rifts into the multiverse. She was going to use that to find a reality where her children existed. Of course, there was still the issue of the Darkhold itself. That was when Issei would become a bit concerned. This Darkhold, does it go by any other names? Yes, Wong would say. Humans have given it many names throughout the centuries. Among them, one being the Book of the Dead, as well as the Necronomicon de Ex Mortis. How do you know that? Loki would say. Because we have a version of this thing called the Necronomicon, or the Darkhold as you will, in my world. It was used, and inside of it, there are beings that are sealed inside, known as the Dark Ones. The Dark Ones? Yes. The Dark Ones are a race of evil beings. They're far more powerful and greater than anything that you could possibly imagine. They were so strong that it took even Earth's greatest sorcerers just to seal them inside of that damn thing. They can't be killed, or at least it'd be damn near impossible to do so. And what do you think they have to do with this? If Wanda's using the Darkhold, anyone that uses it leaves themselves susceptible to the Dark Ones. In my universe, where I came from, you could say, goddess, if you will, Lady Mephisto, she had a son, and his name was Damien. When she attempted to use the Darkhold, one of the 6 Dark Ones ended up possessing her son's body and used it as a conduit. He had almost managed to create a partial rift in space-time, and it would have allowed the Dark Ones to enter into my world. You need to understand how dangerous this is. If the Dark Ones manage to rip open the spatial quake that divides them, if they're able to escape in their full form into this world, there is nothing that is going to be able to stop them. Just how powerful could they possibly be? Loki would ask. They are indeed powerful and strong. The power that it took to steal them away almost ended humanity as we know it. Even fighting against her son Blackheart, I was barely able to hold my own. Even at my strongest, the best that I was able to do was just seal him back. Wait, you say they have to use someone as a conduit? Yeah. The Darkhold is strong enough in and of itself. They can't just easily escape. They have to possess someone's body. Usually only one at a time, but once they're able to do so, they use the body of the one that they possess, and they start to enact a plan to undo the seal. The more Wanda has used the Darkhold, in all likelihood, her mind has become under possession by one of the Dark Ones. In all likelihood, she probably made a deal with them. A deal? You mean like a deal with the devil? No. I've met devils, and trust me, the Dark Ones are worser than any devil you'll ever meet. She most likely made a deal that in exchange for finding her children, she would help unleash them, most likely allowing her body to be used as a conduit, or maybe a spare body, depending on if she's still using the Dreamwalk spell. And if that's the case, if she dreamwalks enough, she might have more than enough spare bodies, and with that, they could have multiple vessels. Strange would finish. However, before they had a chance to continue on in their conversation, the Kamar Taj would find itself under attack, as Wanda was continuing her conquest, attempting to find Chavez. With no choice, Chavez would attempt to escape, with her, Strange, and the other members of Loki's Avengers team. They would find themselves falling into Earth 838. As they arrived, they would find that this was indeed a universe, a world where Wanda's children did exist, Billy and Tommy. When they arrived, Wanda would make her presence known as well. She had managed to use Dreamwalk once again, as taught to her by the Dark Ones, who were more than satisfied with what they were gaining. With each time she dreamwalked, it provided them another vessel. While the one they had now was powerful enough, they would find the second Wanda, and yet a second vessel would be found. But they could sense that there were more, even powerful vessels that could be used, and they would have to keep that in mind for now. Now attempting to find where the Darkhold was, the group knew that the only chance they had of victory was to find the source, to find the original Darkhold that Wanda had gotten a hold of, and find a way to steal it. The best thing that they could do would be by finding the Book of Vishanti, a book of light that could counter the Book of Dark. However, before the group could enact their next plan, they would find themselves in a bit of a predicament. Someone that Strange recognized, but at the same time was not someone that was all too fond of Strange. As the group were finding themselves in the middle of a suburban neighborhood, Loki trying to figure out what universe they had gone to and just how on earth they were going to get back, Venom and Tanjiro would look out into the distance, seeing a group of metal men looking as though they were about to surround them. As they were, another man would come walking out before them, someone that Strange knew far too well. Carl Mordo. Stephen Strange, Loki of the Asgardian race, and others, I'm going to have to ask that you come with me. There are some people who would like to speak to you. Cautiously, the group would follow Carl as he teleported them to the special sanctuary. As they had all arrived, Strange would be placed in handcuffs, along with Loki as well. The others weren't going to be restrained, however, the Ultron guards had their eyes fixed on them. In case they tried anything, then they were going to be vaporized. As they made their way to the main hall, Carl Mordo would introduce the group to the Illuminati. I give you Captain Peggy Carter, Black Bolt, leader of the Inhumans, Maria Rambeau, Captain Marvel, one of the smartest men alive and the leader of the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards, Dr. Charles Xavier, and the Superior Spider-Man, Peter Parker. As the groups now saw and sized each other up, there were a few interactions that could not go unnoticed. Steve? Peggy? Huh? What the? Me? I take it you're Peter as well. Yeah, you're Peter Parker? Obviously. And wait, why am I Superior Spider-Man? What makes you superior? I'm superior in every way. Anybody else confused, or is it just me? Issei would chime in. Peggy, what's going on? I thought I left you back at home. Home? Steve, I'm sorry, but I don't think you know, but you don't have a Steve, do you, Peggy? Peggy would simply shake her head. That was all that he had to know, but something did bring her solace. It seems you've gotten a bit older, haven't you? Yeah, I did. And I take it you... Yeah. I saved the dance. Is she... happy? We both are. Peggy had to hold her emotions in for a moment. On one hand, she had lost her Steve, but still, to know that there was a version of him and her that were happy together, it warmed her heart. As for Spider-Man, he was still trying to figure out how on earth he had managed to get involved in the Illuminati of all people. I mean, on one hand, he should be proud, but on the other hand, well, it felt a little shady. All the same, now that the two sides were together, they had to explain what was going on. The Illuminati would basically tell them that they too had a Doctor Strange. However, he attempted to use the Darkhold to defeat Thanos. While successful, it only ended up causing him to go down the path of darkness. And well, safely to say, there was a matter with Strange that cannot easily be overlooked. And that was the fact that no matter what the universe, Doctor Strange always believed that what he was doing was right, even though ultimately he wound up being his own worst enemy. And as such, the Illuminati executed their own Strange to prevent him from causing even more harm. Immortal believed that Earth's 616 Strange was, in a similar way, very dangerous. However, there was another matter at hand. Loki. Yes, what can I do for you, my egghead friend? I see with the jokes. But no matter. What business do you have here? Judging from your attire, it seems as though you are a version of Loki that works with the TVA. Indeed I am. While I don't know the circumstances that could have led to them having your services, we know enough of the TVA to know that whenever they're involved, the situation is more dire than we could have thought. So do tell, why exactly are you involved in all of this? And why are these other individuals here with you? Oh, They are my team. Avengers, if you will. I've been trying to track down the cause of these incursions myself, and we've come to learn of the source, origin, and the ones responsible. We believe that the Darkhold also plays effect, but to even greater disaster than even you all might realize. Really? And how so? Issei would once again explain the power of the Darkhold, along with the factor of the Dark Ones, and what they were most likely planning to do. Even Mordo would be mortified at this outcome, believing now that if these Dark Ones were truly as powerful as they were claimed to be, then any use of the Darkhold could result in unparalleled consequences. However, before they could discuss even further, they would find that the sanctum of the Illuminati had been invaded. Wanda, now making her presence known, would have arrived. Along with using her various demon horde, she would begin to attack the group of heroes. Not seeing any other choice, the Illuminati would go to deal with the threat. However, Strange, Loki, and the others would persist that they needed to join as well, as to avoid any worse of a fate that could happen. Mordo was prepared to deny them, but Xavier would say that it was maybe for the best. If everything of what they had said were true up until now, then they were going to need all the help that they could get. Loki looked to his team and told them that it was time for action. Izuku would press a button on his wristwatch. The suit of armor that he carried like a backpack would suddenly unchange and morph around him, forming his latest model of armor that he had managed to make for himself right before Loki had picked him up. It was known as the Model Q, a special hybrid combination armor built to resist various forms of quirk powers and abilities. With that by his side now, he would be ready to engage. Bell would summon Mjolnir to his hand. Steve would go rushing forward with his stand shield at the ready, Naruto dashing ahead of everyone, Venom grafting himself onto Tanjiro. Even Nezuko could feel the scent of battle as she too emerged, ready for combat. Alright, Nezuko, just stay close to me, and let's try to help the others, alright? Spider-Man would be ready for the fight also, and Issei entered into his Ghost Rider form. As they joined with the Illuminati, they would be in the doorway as she had come forth. So, it seems you know of just who and what I truly am. That is a shame. I was hoping that I could remain hidden just a while longer. Issei. You know me? But of course. You don't think that we only inhabit the mind of one Darkhold now, do you? We are a hive across every multiverse, and we know you very well. You thwarted our plans once before, and now we shall return the favor. Mr. Fantastic would try to calm Wanda down. However, that would prove to do no good, as she looked to raise her hand against him. However, before she had a chance to, Naruto would come in first, as he used the Shield of Seraphim to block her attack, before creating multiple shadow clones to attack her. However, she would respond by creating multiple demon monsters to fight him as well. As Naruto and the others all engaged with the demon, the fight seemed to be a bit more even this time around. However, Wanda, now continuing to rain her destruction in every which way, focused her main sights on capturing Chavez at all costs, as she continued to follow close behind her. By the end of the fighting of itself, Naruto and Issei would come charging in directly after Wanda, as she was looking to go after Chavez and Strange. The moment that she had managed to arrive, Naruto and Issei would go in for a combination attack, Chavez attempting to help by creating another portal to a dimension. However, Wanda would quickly counter the two. She found herself being hit in the back by a Rasengan from Naruto, crashing into the wall as Issei attempted to bind her with his chains. However, at this point, Wanda was no longer the one in control. It was the Dark Ones, now feeding into their power. Even if their vessel was weak, they still had strength on their side. Pushing back both Naruto and Issei, the two of them would attempt to get back onto their feet once again. In the midst of fighting, Chavez's powers would start to go a bit out of control, and before she knew it, both Issei and Naruto unintentionally had been flung through a portal to another dimension, as it closed on them once again, Strange pulling Chavez out of the way as they needed to escape, while the Illuminati and the Avengers fought below them. Loki coordinating with his team to try to deal with this demon horde as quickly as possible. The two Spider-Men working together in unison, like they had done this before time and time again. However, as they fought, ReZero Peter couldn't help but feel as though there was something off about this superior Spider-Man. As if it were him, but it wasn't really him. Even by the way he spoke with his mannerisms, it was almost like he was that... Otto? Seems you finally figured it out, huh, kid? You're not half bad. Wait, I'm right, Otto? It's me. Some things happened and, it looks like I'm Spider-Man now. Oh, well, you're not a criminal, are you? Would I be here if I was? Point taken. Bell would use the quick change of his Mjolnir, transforming into Stormbreaker before unleashing a devastating strike of lightning, crashing through a horde of the demon, as he worked alongside with Captain Marvel, attempting to fend off the west wing of the facility. Along with Mordo, who was working alongside Loki as they fought back to back, the two of them couldn't help but agree on one thing. For all the troubles that they had been through, Strange seemed to cause the most of these messes. Nezuko and Tanjiro would fight together as brother and sister, Tanjiro using his venom-like tendrils to wrap around multiple enemies and smash them into the ground, while Nezuko would burn them away with her blood demon arts. Captain America and Captain Carter would both work together, as almost as if the two of them had been together their whole lives. Well, they had. Although for Peggy, her Steve wasn't anywhere nearly as capable. As it seemed as though they were about to be overrun, Steve would tell Peggy to get in front of him, holding up her shield. As she did so, Steve's body would become weak, but it was the price to pay to use his most powerful of abilities. As Blue Liberty would come flying towards the horde, punching away at them in quick succession, Carter shielding Steve's rather weak body as his stand would take care of the rest. In the meanwhile, both Naruto and Issei would find themselves falling into the middle of a schoolyard, unsure of just how they had gotten here. Ow! Man, that really hurt. You okay, Naruto? I'm fine. Where the heck are we? Wait a second. I know this place. This is my school. Your school? Yeah, it's Kuo Academy. Wait, if I'm here, then that means... Naruto, follow me! Naruto would quickly run behind Issei as the two of them went racing across the schoolyard. Issei couldn't believe it, but if this was where he was, then that meant that maybe he was sent back home. If it were that the case, then maybe it meant that they could get some help, or something. As they arrived, Issei would go running through the room of the Occult Research Club. Rias! Rias! Rias Grimmery would turn to face him, surprised by the young boy as he ran towards her and gave her a hug. Rias! It's so good to see you. I didn't think I'd make it back, and... I'm sorry. Who are you? What do you mean? It's me, Issei. Oh no, I probably was sent to another dimension. Come on, you gotta know who I am. It's me, Issei Hyodo. You know, you're... I'm sorry, but I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you're here. Hey Rias, what's going on? Akano? Koneko? Asuya? Come on, guys, it's... You guys don't know who I am? I'm sorry. Have we met? I mean, he looks nice and all, but I don't really know him. Can't say I remember, Koneko would chime in. But as they looked past Issei, they saw someone that they did know. Naruto? Wait, you know him? You know me? Yeah, Naruto. What are you doing here, and why are you dressed like that? I'm sorry, but how do you know who I am? What do you mean, how do we know who you are? You're Naruto. We've always known who you are. Both Naruto and Issei would look at one another. Both of them trying to figure out just what the hell was going on. Why were they in a universe where everyone that Issei knew Naruto but not him? And it was just then that the doors opened and they realized. Yeah, Akiba, thanks for the sparring. I didn't really think I'd get another chance to... Rias? Naruto? Is this a... clone? No. Wait, let me check. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto would create shadow clones, and there would only be 7 others. As was to be expected, as he did consume all 8 pawns of Rias Grimmery. Who are you? Naruto would say, as he summoned his boosted gear at once. But the boosted gear? Naruto, why is there a version of you that has the boosted gear? I don't even know what the boosted gear is. Hold on, it's me. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. No, I'm Naruto Hyodo Uzumaki. Wait, Hyodo? Issei would say. I'm Issei Hyodo. What do you mean you're Issei Hyodo? I'm Issei Hyodo. But you can't be Issei Hyodo. Oh yeah? And why not? Because Issei Hyodo is dead. What? My parents, they had a miscarriage. The child was going to be named Issei, but he died. Issei Hyodo never existed. So how can you be Issei Hyodo? Rias would then move to the room and tell everyone to calm down. The 2 Narutos, the apparent Issei that was dead and once alive, everyone would have to calm down and focus. Alright, new Naruto, please explain what is going on here. To make a long story short, Naruto and Issei basically had to explain what happened and where they came from. Issei explained that he came from a universe where he had the powers of the Ghost Rider. He was also able to demonstrate that he did not have the boosted gear. But as other members of the Occult Research Club trickled in, along with Irina and Zenobia, they were able to learn a lot of shocking truths. That Irina was the Red Dragon Empress in his world, and that also the Chaos Brigade, they didn't exist. Instead, they were heroes. Well, not heroes, but they worked under Azazel. As Azazel had been called in to join them, to listen in on the conversation and make sure that everything was on the up and up, then Naruto would have to explain the world that he came from. That he came from a world where his father never sent him away with some jutsu. And so he never came to this universe. He explains that he still had to live on his own and that his parents still died, but ultimately he ended up becoming a wizard. But now it was time for them to know what happened with this Naruto. And why was this Naruto in Issei's other alternate universe? Well, for all of you who are now wondering, this is what if Naruto was in High School DxD Naruto. So if you know the story, then you know how Naruto got to this world. Using a jutsu given to him by the Sage of Six Paths, Minato, by chance, ended up sending Naruto to the High School DxD universe. A universe where Issei ended up dying via miscarriage, which is actually something that happened to Issei's parents in the actual story. That's why Issei is considered a miracle baby to his parents, because his parents had suffered 2 miscarriages before they had him. However, in this universe, Issei ended up suffering and died of a miscarriage as well. So, when they found a baby Naruto who appeared in the bushes, they decided to raise him as Naruto Uzumaki Hyodo. However, Naruto was not truly alone, since there was another part of the jutsu that allowed Minato and Kushina to seal away a bit of their souls inside of Naruto. It acted on a bit of a delay. By the time Naruto turned 12, he was able to meet with his parents in the astral plane, or in his subconscious. There he learned of his true nature and where he had come from. And he had also learned that the Nine Tails was sealed inside of him as well, along with him gaining the powers of the Red Dragon Emperor. They were able to prove this when the 2 Narutos would fist bump, and the 2 Kurumas would be able to corroborate each other's stories. But now with that out of the way, and with the 2 highly different Narutos now gathered together, that left them to the main problem. Why on earth were these 2 here if they were supposed to be fighting some bigger threat out in some form of multiverse? And that's when they would explain that they were, but then they somehow got sent here by mistake, and now they had no real way of knowing how to get back. DxD Naruto would have suggested that they use reverse summoning, but the strange Naruto didn't have a way of doing so, since he didn't leave anything behind for him to be summoned back to. But then, that's when they figured if there was any way for them to escape, at the very least, they could get back to strange Naruto's universe. He explained that he had his sling ring on him, but it could only connect him back to his universe. It probably wasn't much of an anything, but if they were going to make a move, it was going to have to be now. Naruto and Issei would thank the others for their help, although Issei would be a bit saddened to know that this was a world where he died in. However, Naruto would pat him on the shoulder. "Don't worry, Mom and Dad are fine. I'm taking care of them, like they were my own. I promise, I'll protect everyone here. I know you will. I trust you. And since you're technically my brother here, good looking out. So, in your world, I take it... Oh, well, my dream is to have a harem after all. And I can say without a doubt that I do love each one of these girls. So, don't worry. I'll take care of them. I know you will." The 2 of them would fist bump as Issei followed behind Naruto. Naruto using his sling ring. He would have to concentrate all of his mystic energies. Once he was able to make the portal, the 2 of them would jump through and say goodbye, as they now found themselves back in Konoha. But things were not going too well. It seemed as though there was something going on in the distance on the outskirts of the village. Large explosions were going off in every which direction, and people were fleeing to safety. Naruto and Issei would go rush forward, as off in the distance, they could see someone else running beside them. Kakashi-sensei? Yeah. Naruto, you're back? Who's the new guy? Oh, his name's Issei Hyodo. He's a friend of mine. No time. We need to go. It's about Sakura. Sakura? What's wrong with Sakura? We're not sure. She was at the hospital and some mark. It formed over top of her forehead and she started going insane. A mark? It's the Dark Ones. Naruto, we have to hurry. Right. Naruto and Issei, along with Kakashi, would make their way. They had managed to move Sakura to the outskirts of the village, but she was still going on the fritz, attacking others while trying to hold back at the same time, like she was being possessed. As they arrived, Naruto could see that Sasuke, Rock Lee, and Haku were trying their best to keep Sakura at bay. Even for someone like Sasuke, it was difficult. And that just proved just how powerful the Dark Ones could be once they got a hold of a vessel. Naruto? Sasuke would say. You're back? And who's he? He's a friend, but there's no time, Sasuke. What's going on with Sakura? Get away from me! She has the mark, Issei would say. Look, her forehead. It took time. But her body is good. Much more powerful. And she has the ability of chaos. That's not Sakura's voice, Lee would say. Who are you? And what have you done with Sakura? The same thing I'm going to do with all of you. Sakura held out her hand, and her chaos magic would blow almost all of them back. Everyone trying their best to hold their footing as she began to rise into the air. Naruto and Sasuke having no choice, the two of them would both work together in unison, trying their best to keep her down. Naruto entering into KCM2 as Sasuke's own Sharingan blazed, the power of the EMS. So, two wielders of the mystic arts. Interesting. But still, I wonder how you'll fare against fighting your own friend. The two of them stood at the ready, though they were unsure of what they could do. At the same time, they didn't want to hurt Sakura, but they knew that this one had no problem harming them. She used her magic to control the elements and controlling the terrain around them, making it difficult for them to move. Inside of her enhanced shinobi body, she was able to match Naruto and Sasuke blow for blow, even holding off Lee in his advancements. Issei, with the power of the Ghost Rider, would have to go into his crimson flame form just to match her. Ah yes, your crimson flames. I was too weak to fight them in our old world, but here with this magic at my disposal, you are nothing. You're not gonna get away with this. I'm banishing you back to the dark dimension, you bastard! Ah! Possessed Sakura would snap his wrist as he yelled. Oh, you think so? Well, whenever you're ready, I'm more than happy to go back, if you can make me. She continued to beat him into the ground, as Naruto and Sasuke would come back once more. Naruto would use the winds of Watum to push her away, while Sasuke would attempt to use his Susanoo, knocking her down into the ground once more. He didn't like the idea of using such aggressive force, but at the same time, they knew that they had to try to incapacitate her in any way that they could. They were trying to push her as far from the village as possible, to ensure that no damage would come to that or the people. As they had done so, Agatha, who had taken residence in this universe, would arrive, much older now, as she walked beside both Naruto and Sasuke, as Issei was getting back on his feet. So, Wonder Boy, it seems you've made your return. Miss Agatha, it's Sakura, I'm well aware. Leave this to me. The boys weren't sure of what to do as the older woman walked towards the possessed Sakura. You. Yes, me. We're far too familiar with who you are, Harkness. Yes, I knew this time would come. It seems no matter how hard I try, I can never escape you or your issues, Fallen. Well, it's not our fault that you choose to train the batshit crazy ones. Maybe. Agatha would place 2 of her fingers on Sakura's forehead. I think we both know how this ends. Are you really going to make that type of trade? But of course, I've lived long enough a life anyway. Besides, I won't let any harm come to my student. So go ahead and do your worst. Very well. In a flash of crimson, Sakura would fall to the ground. As she had done so, the mark on her forehead was gone. But now, it was on Agatha, as she turned back and faced them. You have to do it now! Finish me! What? But, what's going on? Issei, what's the meaning of this? She's taken on the Dark Ones into herself, but it seems as though she's managed to bide some time. Bide time? How? She's using a seal, Kakashi would say. She's used a seal to keep whatever those beings possessing her are inside of her body. They can't escape, and they won't be able to possess her for much longer. Then that means she wants to take them with her to her grave, Issei would say. If she dies here, the Dark Ones will go back to the dimension they were sealed, or they'll have to find yet another host. But we can't. As Sakura got back to her feet, she looked to see her master, who was in pain. Sakura! Master? You have to finish me. I can't hold them much longer. Even with the magic, even with the sealing jutsu, it won't last too much longer. You have to finish me now. But I can't. It's okay, Sakura. You'll be fine. I promise. I'll be okay. Sakura. Kakashi would look to her student, her tears beginning to stream down the sides of her face. Sakura knew what had to be done, but at the same time, she still wondered if she had the strength to do it. I'll do it, Issei said. Issei? These bastards, they've hurt more than enough people. I'll finish it. Just avert your eyes. They turned away in honor of her sacrifice, Sakura being held by Lee as they looked on to see what was happening. Thank you, young man. No problem. Issei summoned his crimson blade as he pierced her through the heart. A vitriol yell would reverberate throughout the forest as the Dark Ones would be expelled from her body. As she fell to the ground, Sakura would quickly rush to her side as the older woman lay dying in her arms. Naruto, Sasuke, and Issei They knew that this was what had to be done. But at the same time, they couldn't deny the difficulty of it all. In the meantime, with the fight at the HQ now coming to an end, Loki had to figure out where 2 of his teammates had gone. He found their location, and he told the others to stay put while he went to grab them. As he arrived, they came across the body of the fallen Agatha Harkness. As both Issei and Naruto rushed over towards Loki, they asked what had happened back over on their side. Loki explaining they had been able to fight off the Horde for the most part, but that there was still one Wanda out there. It seemed as though she had managed to get her hand on Chavez. Strange was going now to confront her, and they were going to follow. Both Naruto and Issei were ready. As Naruto looked back to Kakashi and to Sasuke, he told them that they would be back soon, and Sasuke nodded, knowing that now his place was to watch after the village, as he was the only one capable of doing so. Naruto and Issei would rejoin with the group back at the sanctum of the Illuminati. Thankfully, not many had been killed, and the group had actually managed to survive this time around, grateful for the help. As they were now preparing to go, Moro still claimed that it was too dangerous for them to be getting involved. However, Loki explained that getting involved was what they did. It's what heroes do. As they looked back, they promised that they would take care of things, and the Illuminati agreed. However, now, they were going to be keeping their eyes open. Their eyes open on all of the multiverse and its possibilities. Seeing how well these beings were able to fight, maybe they would have to recruit some other allies into their ranks. But that would all be in due time. Now Loki, along with his team, they would make their way, along with Strange. As they arrived, seeing that Chavez was having her power drained from her by Wanda. Strange looked back to see that the group had finally shown up. Now seeing that Wanda was in possession of multiple Darkholds, Issei explained that all of them had to be destroyed here and now. They couldn't afford to let any of them escape. If just one did, then the Dark Ones would always have a chance. Strange noted that he had the Book of Vishanti, and with it, they could use it to destroy all of the Darkholds. Kind of like a meeting of negative and positive, they would cancel each other out. While he worked on the spell, he was going to need some assistance, and he looked to Naruto. Knowing that he was the only one here who was even versed in the mystic arts, he would ask Naruto for his assistance. Naruto agreed, but he would create one shadow clone to help the others as they went to go face off against Wanda. As they made their way into the room, seeing Chavez on top of the pillar as her power was being drained from her, Wanda looked down upon them. As Guardian, that would be me. You don't know when to quit, do you? You could say that again, but I think it's best if you give up now, Wanda. She cannot hear you. The only one left is me. No. She's in there, and we're going to beat her out of you. Wanda would stop the ritual as she went to confront the Avengers. Loki and his team all stood together side by side. Men, we haven't known each other very long. And honestly, you have no reason to trust a single word that comes out of my mouth. But do believe when I say this. You are all incredible and extraordinary heroes. And I must say, it is an honor to fight beside you all. No matter how this ends, just know, I couldn't have picked a better team. Everyone would nod in agreement, feeling the same way. However, Issei had one thing to chime in. That's great and all, but I got a home to get back to. So I don't know about you guys, I don't feel like dying. So let's kick her ass. Right. Avengers! Assemble. And with that, the Avengers would charge against the Dark Wanda. The battle raging as she tried to fend them off on every side. Izuku, his armor now being built to resist high temperatures and heat, was able to resist the dark flames of her magic as he blasted her with his repulsor rays. Steve would stay close to the back as he used Blue Liberty to strike at various points. With him having the speed to be able to match against the stand of the world, then he was more than fast enough to deliver devastating combos. Bell would also look to tap into the power of Thor, as he looked into the sky above, asking that the God of Thunder would bless him at this moment, and give him the strength to stand with his allies. As Bell lifted Mjolnir, Mjolnir would transform into Stormbreaker, as dark storm clouds rolled around him, and he brought down the axe upon Wanda, managing to actually do a bit of damage as the lightning struck her, knocking her to the ground once more. Tanjiro would take a deep breath as she started to conjure multiple dark spirit hordes to attack them. Tanjiro letting the symbiote fill inside of his lungs as he entered into the Venom Oni form. Venom breathing, third form, double critical, combination, water breathing, first form, merging attack, frenzy. In a striking blur of black, it would appear as though there were almost 100 Tanjiros, controlling his breathing to its absolute finest. In a swift motion, he was able to attack and destroy all of his foes before him. Under his mask, Peter's eyes would start to glow, as he had bought himself enough time to conjure as many wind spirits as he could, as both he and Issei would go charging in for a combo attack. Peter swinging him amongst the walls, dodging all of Wanda's attacks at him, while Issei burnt them all away as the two went for a combination. Combination attack, Wind Spirit Surge, Crimson Hellflame. The combined efforts of the scorching assault, burning away at Wanda as it knocked her to the ground once more, and Loki, using his teleportation, would appear behind her, stabbing her in the back, making sure to avoid her vitals, but causing her enough pain and damage that she wasn't able to keep track of the others as they continued to beat her down. In the meanwhile, both Naruto and Doctor Strange would almost be finished with the spell, the two of them working together in unison, using the Book of Vishanti. Together, the two of them were able to use the counterspell, Erasure. As they were able to match the Vishanti with the Darkhold, the two of them would finally be able to destroy them all at once. Chavez had now been freed from the platform, and now using her powers, she was able to assist with the final hit. With the Dark One now being expelled from Wanda's body, Chavez would throw her back into another reality, to the Earth of 838. As she had arrived, she was able to see her children once more. She saw Billy and Tommy, but they were afraid. They recoiled back in fear of her, as they cried over the other Wanda that was their mother. What has she done? Everything that she had fought for, everything that she had ever wanted, it was right here within the palm of her hands. All she had to do was take it now for herself, but in the end, could she really do that? Was it really love if she only caused the ones whom she cared for more pain? She wanted to know what to do. She wanted to find something. However, Doctor Strange and Naruto would appear behind her as she looked to the two of them, and Naruto knelt next to her. Listen, Wanda, I know what it feels like to lose. I know what it feels like to loss. There have been times when I've wanted to use my power for something just like this. You have? Of course. I didn't know my mother or my father. They died the day that I was born. And honestly, the life that I've lived up until now was not easy. I grew up alone. No one to love or care for me. When I finally gained the power that I have now, there was a part of me that wanted to use it for my own purposes. To use it to find what I was missing. But I can't say that it was all bad. I've met others along the way, like my sensei and the girl whom I love more than anything. I've made friends in this world and the next. But I've lost so much. I know. We all have. Loss is a part of life, Wanda. But even still, how we handle that loss, that is what's most important. I don't know what you've gone through, and I can't begin to completely understand, but I know enough to say that the people you've lost, they love you, and they wouldn't want this for you. None of them. At that moment, Wanda would think of her brother. She would think of Vision, and then of her children. As she thought of them, she knew that none of them would have wanted this for her. All of the pain, all of the anguish that she had caused. She knew that she had to set things right. Where they were, on Mount Wundagore, everything was starting to collapse around them. And if they stayed where they were, then it was only going to lead to more anguish. As she tried to hold everything together, she would tell Loki, Strange, and all of them to leave. They started to object, but she simply told them to go. Taking their cue, they would take their chance to escape, as Wanda stayed back. Using her power, she would help and destroy everything. All the copies of the Darkhold that she had collected throughout the multiverse, and sacrificing herself in the process. Chavez, Strange, Loki, and his team, they would all arrive back at Carmitage, where it was slowly being repaired, and the surviving sorcerers were looking to rebuild once again. Chavez, now believing that she might have found a home, she looked to join them. Strange, in the meanwhile, he was dealing with some side effects. That being a strange third eye that had formed as a result of him coming into contact with the Darkhold. He wasn't sure of what was going to happen from it, but for now, he was simply going to have to take what comes. In the meantime, Loki and his team of Avengers, Well, they had done it. Or at least that's what they thought. As they were preparing to leave, Strange would ask where they were going to go and what they were going to do now. Loki explained that he couldn't keep them around forever. He still had his own investigations that he needed to do, but maybe they would see each other again someday. But he almost forgot one thing. He held up a little device and flashed it in front of Strange's face. Strange passed out instantly, and the others asked what exactly he had done. "Oh, you like this? It's kind of like a thing from that movie." "Ooh, you mean Men in Black?" Peter would say. "Precisely. It was made by the TVA. It's used to erase people's minds. You know. But why would you do that to him and not us?" "Oh, because he doesn't need to know about any of this. You all, on the other hand, are quite different. You see, I would like to think that, hopefully in the future, when, or if something like this happens again, I can call on you guys, you know, for assistance." "You mean, like a team to fight across the multiverse?" Issei would ask. "Precisely. But I know that you all have your own lives to live, and I won't keep that from you. However, I will say that you'll never know when the multiverse will need your help. There are beings out there far greater than just that of what we have faced." "Ain't that the truth?" Issei would say. "Well, you guys, I like it. Like a secret Avengers team that works behind the scenes of everything," Spider-Man would add. "I don't mind helping," Tandro would say, "but try to pick me at a much more, appropriate time. I still have to go on my missions and everything, and, I can't stop protecting my world from demons." "That's true. And that's why I'm sending you all back precisely at the time in which I picked you up in the first place." "That's right, he did say that. Wait, so you mean that... That's right. When you return to your worlds, it'll be as if no time had passed at all. So, while everyone around you will feel as though it's only been a few seconds, for you all, it's been a considerable amount of time." "I understand," Steve would say. "In either case, it's been an honor to fight with all of you, and I wouldn't mind doing it again sometime." He shook all of their hands, everyone saying their goodbyes and gathering together, knowing that even if this was the end of one adventure, there were still so many more left for them out there. For Bell, he still had his dream of becoming a great hero, and to reunite with his goddess Hestia and his friends. For Steve, he couldn't wait to be back with Peggy once more, and to oversee S.H.I.E.L.D. as it moved into a new millennia. Izuku, he was going to have a lot of stories to tell his friends when he got back home, and he had a lot more ideas now for what he could do for his new suits, as he still pursued his dream of becoming the #1 hero. For Naruto, his dream hadn't changed. He was still going to become Hokage, and he would take the title of the first Sorcerer Supreme of his world. For Tanjiro and Nezuko, their goal remained the same: to find a way to defeat the demons, to find and capture whoever Carnage was, and to turn her back into a human. For Peter, the one thing on his mind was his wife, Rem. He couldn't wait to be with her again. He was going to take things slow for a bit, and just enjoy the little things for now. And as for Issei, he had missed his home. He knew exactly where he was going to pop up at, so he knew there was going to be a lot to talk about. And one by one, Loki sent each of them back to their respective timelines. When they appeared, it was almost as if they had never left. But even still, these 7 would remember everything they had been through. And they knew that there was a chance that they would see each other once more. In the meanwhile, Loki set his sights back on his main objective. Now that he had a team that he could trust, knowing that he could call them when needed, it was time for him to go back onto his own. It was time for him to figure out what the hell was going on. Just what the hell had happened to the TVA. This concludes Avengers, Heroes of the Multiverse. As always, if you are a fan of today's video, then don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcasting that's to come out now and in the future. With this video, we now conclude Phase 1. I want to say thank you to everyone who has supported PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, for watching every story, for following along, for every comment, for every like and every share. It truly means the world to me. As always, I cannot do it without you. You make the channel grow, you make the core grow. Now, as to what's going to be going on in the near future. After the upload of this video, I am going to be taking a 2-week break. It's been long overdue, one that's been needed. Even right now, my voice hurts like hell, and it took a lot of medicine for me just to be able to record this thing, so I'm going to be happy not to be talking for a bit. But I do have some content that I'll sprinkle here and there throughout the 2 weeks so that you guys can be entertained with something while I'm gone. In the meanwhile, there is going to be a special trailer that's going to be coming out that's going to have a preview of everything coming out this fall and winter, and just to give you guys a little preview of where we're taking the channel going into the future. Now, this isn't the end for a lot of these stories. They are going to get continuations, as a lot of these series do have some story left to tell. Although, when I get back into doing so, that will remain to be seen. But you'll have this and more to look forward to when Phase 2 commences in 2023. But until then, as always, thank you for watching PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, Javon Harrington, signing off, and I'll see you next time.